Hello and welcome. We are live, and I'm going to test my boundaries. If anybody's watched any of my lives before, I am not going to check.
I am so proud. Let's have a moment here and just acknowledge the growth, the expansion, and how funny would it be if this one wasn't live? But it is, so it doesn't matter. And we're going to know that it's live because pretty soon people will start popping on and putting in comments, and you will see even more evidence that you're a powerful creator, and this all worked out just fine.
Yeah, there's no anxiety.
You're finding a way to look.
I don't have. I can look. Oh, bless that soul who came on. Just because it means it's live. I'm not checking it's live. I am, like the first video, going outside my comfort zone.
It's a very good thing.
Yay!
Yay, it's Jill. Jill. We have to start paying Jill more because she comes on every time.
We love Jill. All right. So now that I know we are live in some way, it's so funny. I know what we said we were going to talk about. But we can proceed. We will talk about this beautiful.
You have a new topic that just popped into your mind? What is it? I'm so curious now.
It's trust.
You were going to say that. I should have said it right when it went through my mind because it would have been super funny that we said it at the same time. Yeah. I'll do that next time. I think it's a fantastic topic. Like, absolutely trust. Let's tell me a little bit about your trust.
Ooh. Trust in relation to all sorts of things. Like most people will look at trust. I guess this is what we're talking about today. Woohoo. All right. So most people
get so excited when you know people are there.
No, that was not even part of it. That was me like that was fluky. All right. Nice synchronicity. No, I'm psyching myself up for a conversation that is very, very, very interesting for me.
There's a lot here.
There's a lot here. You can turn on your intuitive coach hat and have fun and play, or not.
Thanks.
Don't do that.
All right. We can speak generally. That's all. Generally. Everyone will know we're talking about you, but that's all right.
Never. I have to be perfect. Just
all right.
All right. So the topic of trust. What is trust? All right. So most people would think of trust as in like, Sheila, I've got a secret to tell you. Don't tell anyone my secret. And of course. And don't tell anyone my secret. And if you keep it, then I feel like I can trust you.
Okay.
Like a vault. And sure, that is an aspect of trust, but oh dear Lord, there's going to be so much in this. So trust then has different domains. You trust others. You trust others to what? To keep, you're going to have fun with this.
I'm ready to take notes. But go ahead. Yes, I already have just one small little note that I can talk about later. Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Please continue.
Please continue as I then not censor. So yes, trust of others. When you're trusting them, and what you're doing is you're trusting that they're going to hold your information private, right?
Yes.
But you can also trust somebody else to be reliable or available or supportive or all sorts of things. Like there's tons of things that you can put trust external to you. And then we can bring it a little more broader and say trust in life. Trust that you're going to be okay. Trust that things are working out. Trust all sorts of ways. Like, you can go even broader. There's this big plan that everything is supposed to work out a specific way. And it's like, this can get really, really big. But I think the meat of it all, which is probably one of my fun areas, and it has to do with trust in the self.
Mm-hmm.
So trust in the self, trust that you can do it, trust that you are capable, trust that you will not get it wrong, You know, we talked last time about making decisions, and many of us who struggle with making decisions, we don't trust ourselves. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of power in that, in recognizing that you're not trusting in yourself. You don't have confidence in yourself. And this can fluctuate. There's just some days that I am very confident and I trust myself a lot. And you can see that, how I engage with people, how I engage with myself in my day. And then there are other times where I question absolutely everything, from the smallest thing to, you know, it's like, it's minor, it's minimal, it's all these things. But it just amazes me on how it can like jump back and forth. And yeah, there's so many thoughts happening.
So many thoughts. Well, I think it's fun because it's fun to know that everyone who's currently watching this live and everyone who's going to see it in the future found a lot to resonate with in just that small amount that you said of having experiences, trusting or not trusting forces that are external to us. So other people, events, the safety of a car, whatever it is. Like we have to survive holding on to this trust. Like if we didn't trust, we wouldn't do anything. We literally would not be able to leave the house. Do you know how many times I used to have anxiety around driving, being a passenger, you know, having other people drive me? It didn't matter what it was, but there was so much innate trust of, I will trust that everyone is going to stay in their lane. I'm going to trust that the drivers around me are competent, that they are within their mind, and that they're not, you know, under the influence of something that's going to cause them to move outside of the parameters of us all getting exactly where we want to be safely.
Yeah.
And I would have what, you know, felt like a lot of anxiety around, well, what if that doesn't happen? Like, what if we're on the highway going 120 kilometers an hour and people don't do what they're supposed to do? And then I realized I had no control over that. So I was going to have to trust it. I was going to just have to get in my car and enjoy the journey to the place that I was going and know that whatever happened, happened. And there was no need or value to put the worry and the anxiety in those areas that I couldn't control. So that, I think, was a really big trust, is like, if we want to call it a struggle or an issue, because we love the power of words. It did feel like a struggle of, how am I going to build enough trust to know that I can get in the vehicle and I can travel somewhere?
Yeah.
And it still flashes sometimes, but then I realized letting that one go, just letting that one go, and trust that we are where we are and it's all okay.
Yeah.
So that's still the external point.
Yeah.
This internal piece, I think it's fascinating of, if something pops up in us of, oh, I don't know that I'm going to do this right. I don't trust myself to click this next button because what if something goes wrong? How do we adjust that? How do we have enough awareness to gain the trust?
Yeah. I mean, talking about your first point and getting in cars and just trusting that everything's going to be okay, that's external. That's external in each individual who ends up being on the road at the same time as you. And that's external to life being something that you can count on. And it's external if you carry those types of beliefs that whether the universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it, is got your back, you know. But coming back to the self, when I think about the times with anxiety, you know, I like to say anxiety is in the past. It isn't always in the past for me. But some things that we attempt to do, you just have no faith for some reason in why you can't do it. And it makes no sense whatsoever. That's the fun part, is like the logical brain is like, this makes no sense, does not compute. But then there's a part of you that's like, oh my God, this isn't going to work out. And it can be debilitating. It can be absolutely debilitating. So how do we navigate that? I mean, the answer to everything is come back to the now moment. Is there an immediate threat now? Is there a reason now that you can't trust yourself or can't trust in life? Because a lot of the life sort of issues or struggles or concerns that we have come from an aspect of not being in the now moment, of propelling yourself, to the future or rewinding to the past and saying like, all these things happened or all these things could happen. And the best part about that is that, I think we're programmed in some way and have just gotten so much, the word is kind of slipping me. It's like inundated in ways of life is going to go wrong. It's going to go bad. You've got the news, you've got people talking about all the bad things happening in life. And even as a kid, I couldn't stand the news. Like my mom and stepfather would watch the news and people would be like, you should watch the news. And I'd be like, no, it just never felt right. And I was like, what I learned now is the fact that I have enough anxiety inside. I don't need to add. I don't want to make it worse for myself. But we're inundated with all these things. So we're quick to trust or jump that if something bad's going to happen, that like if something's going to happen, it's going to be bad. Yeah. And it's just because of that pounding that we got all throughout our lives of like, this bad thing happened to this person and that bad thing happened to that person and this bad thing happened in my life. And it's like, let's balance that stuff out. Let's balance it out and saying, it's probability.
Yeah.
What's the probability that something's going to happen? Well, it's 100% probability that something will happen. There is a natural thing. Action occurs, consequence or result occurs. But there's nothing that says, within the general realm thing, and this is my perspective, so anybody listening, take it or leave it, is that you have just as much probability or likelihood that something bad will happen as something good could happen. So why not bring it in and say something good could happen? I could go to this event and it could be successful. I could run this live and people could watch and actually enjoy it. The first live that we did together, we were together in person. And one of the thoughts that crossed my mind was nobody's going to show up. Mm-hmm. So you can visibly see through the video how excited I got every time somebody showed up. It was like technically like squirrel, right?
Yes. And you remember that you also not only celebrated that, but then basically did a summary of the entire talk up to that point for every single person who came in. So we actually covered no content at all the first 18 minutes or so, which is why it runs almost an hour. And whether it's more interesting or not, I just want to give kudos for the fact that we have covered some really deep topics and some in-depth emotional thing like content. It's only 13 minutes in. It's amazing.
I know, I'm growing.
It is. It's wonderful. You get a gold star. I'm going to send you a certificate in the mail.
Excellent.
You can frame it and put it on the wall right next to your PhD because you are.
Yeah, thank you. I will put it right up there. So yeah, I didn't have full trust when we hopped into the live, but what I did trust was you. Because I was like, if I freeze, which I didn't think was a possibility, or if nothing's happening, I'm hanging out with you. So, oh boy.
So this brings up such a great point that our viewers may or may not be aware of, but we have been having a lot of discussions, the two of us, and hearing it from other sources as well, because everything is so synchronistic, of how important it is to not need whatever it is that you're looking for to come from outside of yourself.
So if you're trust,
if you're looking for love, you love yourself first. If you're, and let's just forget all the other examples, because if you want to trust someone, knowing that you can trust yourself. You don't actually need anyone else. However, allowing for the fact that it's okay to have that bridge or that scaffolding to get to that point of I am learning to trust myself. I am. So the very first time we used StreamYard, it was like, oh no, I don't know what to do. How are we doing this? It's not working, because you just weren't familiar with it. And now you just jumped on here. I said, meet you on StreamYard, and you were here. Bam. Like, you've already got more confidence, more security in yourself, more trust in yourself. The fact that we have done the lives and you kept checking, and yes, you saw the evidence, it's working. I know how to do this. This time there was that little, like, I kind of want to check, but she's going to say something if I check. So I'm going to see, I'm just going to let it ride for a little bit longer. And maybe someone will pop on. And if they don't, I might check then, but I'm not going to tell her that I'm going to check then, because someone might come and then I won't have to. And you learn to trust that. And so how much fun is that to feel the shifting and getting to that point where you will confidently use this or any other program to do the lives. And you may be someone who teaches people how to do it because you know what this process felt like for yourself in building that level of trust. So is it okay that you could trust me and that we would be here? And yes, we would just hang out. And we would, if it hadn't gone live, we could have just had a big laugh about how we were talking to ourselves. Yeah, totally fine. And it also added one more kind of check mark to the list of, can I trust myself to do these go lives with or without Sheila here or anyone else? And yeah, you can.
Sure. But
sure,
it's fun with you.
And that's okay. And you're going to come to that point where it just becomes a no-brainer. It's like, yeah, whatever. This is easy. You might even forget the time that it even felt difficult, which again is just you adding in more evidence of the trust. But what I wanted to talk about in the beginning, which I thought was interesting when you were talking about telling someone a secret and then trusting that they would keep that secret for you, it's very circumstantial. Like it's very conditional. If you do this, then I can trust you. And allowing, especially when it comes to trusting yourself, to have that be an innate knowing.
Right.
Even if I do it wrong, I can trust myself.
Yeah.
Even if I do it wrong, I know that I can trust myself to get more information for next time.
Yeah.
Or to try again. Or to find a guide. Even if it feels like this is going completely sideways, I trust myself to know that and have discernment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just continuing to flex that muscle of trust, because when you get in a cycle of, I can't trust myself and I feel like I have to second guess everything or get someone to look at every screen before I click next, or, to every turn on a drive, like, am I going the right way? Am I going the right way? It gets in your head and it becomes this almost a rut that it's really hard to get yourself out of.
Yeah.
And to have the tools to help you do that is amazing. I remember the first time, just a short anecdote, the first time I was on it was a scooter, those rental scooter things. And I was in a place that I didn't quite know. And I was using Google Maps because I had my phone, but I couldn't hold my phone in my hand and hold on to the handles of the little electric scooter. And so I kept stopping to take my phone out of its secure place, because what if I fell? I wouldn't want to drop the phone. So I had it tucked away, take it out, look at the map again, try to visualize, okay, so this way and then a left, and then tuck it all back. Meanwhile, thinking, okay, the clock is ticking. I'm going to have to pay for all of this time that I'm spending pulling over to check the map, and just allowing it to be okay. Like, I don't know where I'm going and I'd rather not be lost. I'd rather have some confidence in where I'm going, because I have zero confidence riding this scooter on these city streets in this place I don't know. So knowing that that was a tool that I had, I took the time, I used the map, and the next time I felt more confident on the scooter because I'd done it already. I knew a little bit about where I was going. And so that allowed myself of, I got this. I have tools. I trust myself to use the tools. If I get lost, it's okay if I get lost, because I also know that I trust myself to find out a way to be unlost, even if that means get an Uber. Ditch the scooter and find the Uber. Like, I have whatever I need to be okay.
Yeah. I'm distracted by my thing, so I'm going to switch chairs.
Do it.
Because I figured out why it was having such a problem, which it's going to prove me wrong anyways. Yeah, still going to prove me wrong. That's fine.
It really doesn't matter. It's giving someone something, like, now there's something for people to look at while they're listening to me going, yeah, she's still talking, but that's kind of cool what's happening behind her head and behind Danay's head. So
yeah.
it's fun.
No, what you were talking about, though, is a great analogy for life. It's like we have these opportunities to make these choices and these decisions and trust in them. And we have teachers, guides, experts that we can turn to and say, yes. And I mean, it brings it back to your original point that we need, whether we need someone or not. And you're very, very strong, I think, in your views that you don't need anything.
It's true.
and I agree to a point.
Yes.
I mentioned this in the last one, like I need somebody who's a surgeon to do the thing that I need if I need surgery, because they're the expert. So I need it. I don't want it. Who's like, I want surgery. Right? I think there are things in life where we need it until we don't need it. And I think it's a very human thing to need something. Not like, I think there might be levels of need. We can, like, this can be another live, but I'll comment on it briefly. And I think it's directly correlated with how much we trust ourselves. You know, I don't trust myself to create, to do surgery on myself. Obviously, I'm using something that's very exaggerated. So because of that, I am going to need somebody else's assistant. With somebody who deals with anxiety, not as much as I used to, thank God, but there are moments where you are convinced, because you don't trust yourself, that you need assistance because you don't feel as grounded in what you're doing and in what you're trying to achieve. And it could be something that's relatively simple. So I think need can be resolved very easily, and having people come to your support, as long as it doesn't feed the need, I think it's good.
Explain feed the need, and then I'd like to comment.
Well, enabling. Like, say I don't trust myself in a particular scenario. I'm trying to think of something. I have driving standard coming to mind.
Yes.
So, I'm not skilled in driving standard. I've learned how to drive standard. If somebody were to ask me to drive their standard car, I'd be like, are we in a parking lot and nobody's around? That is the level of trust. That is the level of trust. I have a level of trust that I could get it started after however many tries, and I could drive it once I get into the groove of it. And then once I build up my confidence or my trust in my ability to do it, then I can go out. But until then, I need somebody to scaffold until I'm more confident. And it could be one person that does the scaffolding the entire way until it's like training wheels, until I am comfortable to take the training wheels off. But if I was in a cycle where I never allowed myself to grow, like I was always in the parking lot while driving standard and never willing, like, to go into a residential area that's quiet and then try it there and then proceed on to like a busier road and so on and so forth. That, I think, is, if I'm preventing myself or the person assisting me is preventing that, then that's where I think something like need or helping others is actually not a great thing or not as helpful. But I would argue that trust, I know you're not going to agree, I would argue that trust plays a big role in that, trust in the self. But then we have people that's coming to mind that have like an extravagant trust in themselves, and they can't do anything. So, like,
well, I hope you're not talking about me.
No.
Well, may I?
Yes.
Comment. So I think I kind of laughed because you started talking about a whole other different topic that we had considered, but we had decided against today. And then you kind of brought yourself right back. It was like, whoa, wait a second. This is okay. I'm going to bring it back with this summarizing statement. So it sounds like I meant to talk about it. It was very masterfully done. And
very good at this.
I know.
I trust myself in this situation.
See, and that's good. You do. You have a lot of confidence and you do trust yourself of like, even if I kind of go off in this rabbit hole, I'll just like swing it right back and go, see, there we are. We're right back where we wanted to be. And I think just to go back a little bit to your surgeon analogy of trusting, I think that it can be, in fact, that's a brilliant, brilliant example because it still has so much trusting the surgeon is like the end of the line for that scenario, because at the beginning of it, there's something that needs to be done. There is some kind of issue that I need more understanding about with expertise beyond my realm. I need to trust myself to find the expert, to make a decision on the next action. I need to trust myself that I'll follow through and listen to my own guidance about that. I will trust myself to feel empowered and ask a lot of questions. Like those types of examples are, where you have to continue to stay in your power and trust yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that, yes, of course, it does end up being that trusting of the surgeon. However, I do think it is still that intrinsic, to start with that intrinsic trust in yourself. And so you're just itching to share the comments. I would love for you to share the comments.
I don't need to. There's only one comment I would share. I mean, there's some lovely hellos, and we've got like.
Well, we know the one that you want to put up on the screen. Just go ahead and do it. Like, it's unfortunate for you that I can usually read your mind.
Unfortunate or fortunate,
It goes back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, who wouldn't look at this face? Trust all over.
Very trustworthy.
And you know what? To balance the fact that I sometimes struggle with, and by sometimes I mean often, struggle with trusting myself, I'm very good for other people.
Yes.
It seems like a thing where it's like, because of, maybe it's because I have so much trouble with trusting myself. I make it clear that other people can trust me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, whatever, it's like a compensation, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's a whole other realm and like kind of thing. But yes, I agree with you, sadly, with some of the things you say. Because you have points that at some point I had to make the decision. But, as a kid, I relied on, whenever I could, like my mother. And as I got older, so this is a little embarrassing, but valuable. And mom's on the call, so this is great. I wouldn't trust myself to make a decision, especially when it came to buying things. Mm-hmm. And I remember all the time I would ask mom, should I buy this? And she would just tell me yes or no. And I'd be like, thanks. So this could kind of go with the enabling, which it's not, but it is. And I remember being in undergrad. So I'm in my 20s and I might have even actually been older, like still in my 20s, but I'm trying to remember. Anyways.
It was really last week. It's okay. You can be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I still do it to this day, but not to the same degree by any means. But I remember being inside like a Walmart or something, and I was looking at shredders and like paper shredders.
I understand, because you need to shred your documents because you can't trust anyone not to like steal your identity.
Come on.
But go on. Yeah. Carry
on. Come on. Okay. Anyway, so I'm in the Walmart and my mom's nowhere nearby, right? Like, and I call her on my cell phone. So I had to be at least 24 or 25 because I didn't have a cell phone until then. And there's the judgment all over you.
Nothing, never.
Anyways, so I call her and I'm like looking at different types of shredders. And I don't know if she remembers this or not, but anyways, I remember talking to her and saying I couldn't decide between different types of shredders. And I was like, I don't want to go super cheap, but I was like, I know that you're supposed to get the one that like not only shreds it, but like chops it in the middle and like does all this stuff. And then my mom's not an expert on shredders or all sorts of other things, but I trust her.
Yeah.
And I trust her opinion. And because of that, I would be like, what shredder should I get? And it wasn't even a phone that I could turn around and say, okay, here are the ones. I'd have to describe them.
Yeah.
So I'd describe them and she'd be like, you can just pick. Like, you can choose. And I'd be like, no, like, which one? And eventually I picked the one that I have, and it's been great. But it makes me laugh that I've evolved. Thank God I've grown past that phase. But I was really in need of that. Like, I felt like I couldn't trust myself to make the right decision. And that seems to be a theme in my life, that I can't trust myself. Come on. I can't trust myself to decide things or, pick things, because what if I do it wrong, Yeah. So yes, Mom remembers and she's naming things, and we're just not going to comment. I'm going to show this here. This is kind of like my point here. Thank you, Travis. Got my back. It's important to know your limits and where to turn for others for advice, especially when it comes to buying cell phones. Yeah, because what do? Whatever. Anything electronic, I go to Travis.
Yeah.
And Travis loves like exploring all sorts of things and finding out what's the best of this. And like anything that I've bought electronic wise in the past decade, Travis is likely behind it in his suggestions. The laptop I'm staring at right now, Travis.
Right. Travis, she needs a new laptop. Please start looking at options so that we can slide something in there right away. So I'll tell you a funny story though. When it comes to trusting others over yourself, I had good friends at one point who they were both meticulous. He was an engineer and she had her master's in whatever it was, science something. And they were both absolutely detail oriented, didn't have anything without researching it to the nth degree. And I needed a new vehicle at one point. So I thought, I'm just going to go get what they have. They looked into it, right? I know that it's going to be the best. And I went and I test drove a vehicle and I didn't really enjoy it. And so another option presented itself. And I found out afterwards that I had misremembered what kind they had. So it wasn't even the same kind. And if I had even wanted it a little bit, I would have bought that vehicle thinking that it was what they had looked into.
Yeah.
So again, how much do you want to give away your power in those types of choices?
Well, here. Choice is hard. Choice is hard, especially when there's a lot of options and you can fixate on regret. Yeah. Once I commit to something though, I'm like, that's it. But even like I bought shoes recently and I still haven't committed to these shoes. So I'm either going to let the day pass that I can't return them, or I'm going to return them, or I'm going to decide to keep them. But it's so funny, the things that we create struggle with and that don't need to be a struggle. That's it's a great sort of liftoff point here, is that if you just trust yourself, and you know that if you trust yourself and you need help, you're going to go get the help, which was your earlier point, because you always win.
Well, but isn't it nice to know, not that I'm always right, but to know that you can trust yourself. You can make that choice. You can allow yourself to see evidence that it's all working out, even if the choice didn't feel like the best thing. I went through all of that and I chose these pair of shoes or this laptop, and then at the end you thought, yeah, you know what, I'm not loving it. Okay, so now you have more information, and next time you make a new choice. We get to have every single second of our life is essentially a do-over.
Well, let's play with that. What if you trust yourself, and we argue, or at least I do in some capacity, that you can't get it wrong. Okay? We talked about this last time. You can't get it wrong. But let's say you trust yourself, and in the ways beyond what we speak of when we say you can't get it wrong is that you do get it wrong. And by get it wrong, meaning you pick something that you don't like or doesn't work or wasn't what you expected, or, what do you do then?
Well, answer that then. What do you do then?
Why am I the one answering all the questions?
I kind of thought it might have been a rhetorical question, but then it felt like you don't know the answer. But I know you do know the answer.
What do you do then?
Yeah.
You try again?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to try a new recipe, and I go out and buy all the ingredients, and I follow the recipe to the absolute letter, and I take one bite, and it's disgusting, and I do not want to eat this.
That's literally what happened to me today.
Funny how that works out sometimes. So that doesn't mean you can't trust yourself to try new recipes. It just means that now you have more data that you've gathered, and you know that this isn't the recipe you're going to make again. And that's it. Literally no big deal. I'm going to get a sign for you that just says, no big deal. No big deal.
But that's the thing. There's so much in this. We can.
That might have to be another day then.
We can spiral out and this. You've got trust in the middle, and then it's like a web of wherever it can go. We've already talked about not being able to do things, debilitating, anxiety. My mind is erased apparently from all the things that we've talked about. But there's so much that's happening in here that trust. It's trust is at the core of everything.
And I agree that. And one that I don't think we've specifically talked about, but it is so important. And I think where you were going was judgment. I did it wrong. Yeah. I am bad at making decisions.
Yeah.
I chose the wrong expert to help me, which again goes back to I did it wrong. Yeah. I don't know what to do next. I'll never get this right. That's where the judgment and the self-criticism just can start spiraling, which again erodes any sense of trust in yourself that you had. Whereas if you come back to my point of getting your t-shirt that says no big deal, you can allow yourself to just put it in its place in the perspective that it is of this is a moment of my trillions of moments in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. And to know that I have more information than I did before. And that's it. Because trying a recipe and you put $18 worth of ingredients, you think, oh man, that was a waste of my time and my effort, my $18. What if you spend $100,000 on a car and you crash it the next day and you didn't even have your insurance in place because you were so excited? Well, now you've wasted $100,000. Oh, well, nothing going on. Here's some data. Get your insurance before you drive your car.
Well, that is a given.
Well, not for the person who did it. It gets to be okay because nothing has gone wrong. Nothing has really gone wrong. I wasted money. Isn't it a good thing to know I can get more money? I wasted my time. Isn't it good to know that there's just more time? Here's more time right now that I'm wasting talking about how I've wasted my time. I can get off of this particular cycle and go do something fun.
Okay, listen for a sec. If you can hear it, you can hear it. You hear it? All the triggering that's happening right now. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. No, it's like an applause of triggering. So, but you're bringing up a concept of, it's sticking to trust as much as possible, but we're going to talk about everything. It's like a salad of trust.
Yeah.
Because let's see, talking about this idea that, okay, somebody who does this car thing, and you, like, for me, that's like inconceivable, because I'm so particular about things. It's like, I gotta do, for the most part, I gotta do it by the book, right? It's like, I can't do, this is so fun. I can't do this thing without doing this thing and without doing that thing. So it would never happen that I would have like a circumstance like that, because, you know, Travis brings up a point that we're going to show here. I'm going to pick somebody else too. Lean to do, like, Travis is going to want to bring the psychology into things, and I'm familiar with this stuff, but I like to keep it fresh. But anyways, like, people will lean to two different categories: maximizers and satisficers. So the maximizers, right here, will try to get the most out of any choice they make. Like, it's got to be the absolute best, and that's the debilitating thing. Is it's got to be that point where it's like, what if I don't pick the best option? So now I'm thinking, it's not about getting it wrong. It's, what if I don't pick the absolute best? Mm-hmm. And then the satisficers, which I think might be, you know, over here, is to adopt this, like, that's good enough.
Well, I think that it does have the degree. For instance, a lot of people who know me would not agree with that at all, that I am somehow a perfectionist. And if it's not like 100% and gone over 18 million times, it can't go out the door. And that could be true on some elements, but for a lot, it's like, yeah, that's good. Like, let's go buy some towels. I like that color. We're off, like, awesome. Let's go. Let's do it. As opposed to some people who might want it to be a really amazing towel that has no imperfections, and it's going to be the right size and the right softness and the right everything. And I'm thinking, it's for the guest bathroom. Who's even going to use it? It's just really going to look nice, and people will dry their hands once in a while. Like, it just, in my mind, I'm measuring and I'm deciding my time versus is it good enough? Because sometimes it's okay that it's good enough.
We're definitely going to do a live on time, because there's so
all right, let's acknowledge your mother, who is putting in amazing comments, and she just said, you just helped me to get it. I'm going to assume that it's my comment. You're going to assume that it's your comment, and we'll both be satisfied by that.
Yeah. No, you just helped me get it. If I don't trust somebody, I'm not trusting myself. So it's so good. Thank you, Ma. Yeah, that's great. So it's interesting that, like, there's so many thoughts that are bouncing off of my head and stuff. You know, trust still at the core is important, but here's another little web that comes out of it, is this idea of, like, what's most valued by you? What's your priority? And having that, you're sitting there going, if by chance it is something that is of extreme value to you and like a highest priority, but you don't trust yourself in it, like, that I think is, like, awful. But if it's something like low priority, not really valued, and you don't trust yourself in it, you're just like, you know, like, it depends on how much stock you're putting into something to say, like, how much does this actually mean to me? Because if it doesn't mean something to me, then why does it matter if I trust myself or not?
Yeah. That brings up to me a really interesting point that you might or might not feel applies, but this is where it could be argued that it becomes a choice. That you're choosing to make it so important that it almost activates your second guessing of yourself. You know, when it's something pretty casual, you're like, yeah, I got this, it's fine. And then when you choose to elevate it as, this is really big, this is super important, and then you feel as if you need to invite in all kinds of opinions, and just to make sure that you feel good about what you're doing. And I would choose to argue that in some ways, there is no difference between what to put on your toast and where to move next year, or to buy a house or not buy a house. Just knowing that it's every decision will create something for you. And when you put so much emphasis and importance and possibly struggle, which I think we said about 18 times, one of us did at least, over this call, that if you think, well, I don't need to struggle to know what to put on the toast, but I really need to struggle to know about a place to live, then that is a choice. I'm just saying. And if anyone agrees with me at any point in time, go ahead and put it in the comment. And if you disagree with me, just like Danay disagrees with me, go ahead and put it in the comments after.
No, Danay's triggered by it. You're not wrong.
That's an inside joke, because I will often tell her that she's not wrong, and I will not say you're right, because I also don't think she's right, but I will allow that she's not wrong. So I do understand exactly what she's saying.
Yes. So you're not wrong on this, in a sense that everything in life is a choice.
Yep.
Even if it's like gun to the head sort of situation, everything is a choice. And it's just the disagree part is some things just feel so much bigger and so much more consequential than, choosing what to put on my toast. But with that said, power of words. We're going to do one on all sorts of guys. We're doing lives for the rest of our life. We are hitting interesting domains on things like anxiety, where if somebody's got debilitating anxiety, even making a decision on what to put on their toast could feel big.
Absolutely. Agree.
Yeah. But it just brings up, that's probably what triggered me, is in the idea that like things that you find super easy, you're just like, this is easy, just do it. And I'm sitting there going, no, because it's hard. So I just, Travis is right. So he's talking about a book that he bought me. It bleep it, whatever, fuck it. It's a philosophy book. And I started reading it. And then I said,
yeah, good call, Travis. You're right.
But the idea here is, what power are you giving the particular choice or the particular item? I don't think it's humanly possible, and I'm waiting for you to disagree, that it's humanly possible to make something or to make everything small, because something's going to be big.
Well, I didn't say to make everything small. I said that essentially they are the same. The same. You can in your mind, you can say that they're all big, they're all medium, they're all small. I'm not saying small. I'm saying that if I decide to put peanut butter on my toast today or go buy a new home, they could all change my life. If I walk across the street at this point or in 5 steps from now, it could change. So there's no way for you to focus on every single decision and say, this is huge, this could be the life changer, because we don't know. And a lot of the actions that we don't perceive as big actually end up being the life changers. If I hadn't walked into that coffee shop, I never would have met my soulmate. We've been married for 87 years, like whatever it is, but you didn't know at the time, this coffee shop or that coffee shop.
Yeah.
But it was this big, giant decision. And so you didn't give yourself a chance to be debilitated about it. Whereas, oh my gosh, where should I do this? Should I have children or not? Like whatever, that's maybe a touchier subject, but it just, they don't have to be, this is big and this is small box.
So what's coming to mind based on that is, I think it's Einstein who said it. I could be wrong, but it's the idea that you can look at things in life as everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle. And I personally prefer, whenever possible to see everything as a miracle, because when you really break it down, it kind of is. So looking at that, and like you can see the gears working in my mind as I'm processing this, because there's like so much that's kind of going, you know. Do you see that GIF that kind of goes, you know? So thinking about that, I could just, you know, I'll make a joke out of this, but I could just say every time I make a decision, it's a miracle.
Okay, that is super funny. And not wrong.
Well, think about things. I can decide food fairly easily. Well, okay.
When the choice is pizza or something else.
Well, pizza or tacos, then I'd have some trouble.
That's true. Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like you can make everything. You're right. Like something as small as attending a Zoom call, you could change your life. You could have any one of these things be like massive, and something that you thought would change your life had no effect whatsoever.
Yeah.
But what's the moral of the story in that with regards to trust?
Trust yourself that it's all unfolding perfectly, and you don't have to wonder if you can trust yourself. Just let it happen.
Yeah, I like this thing that Travis has put. This is impactful. Yeah. In here, big aspect of trust, and this leads to a point that's actually been coming up from the beginning of this conversation. There's levels of trust. There's trust, like I said, trust in that somebody's not going to divulge a secret, or trust that you can count on them, or whatever it may be, or trust that life is working out, or the universe has your back, or whatever it may be. There's trust, and this is something that we've talked about in the past. And then there's knowing.
Yeah.
And there's knowing that you everything is working out. There's knowing that you can count on these people. There's knowing that life is working out for you. There's knowing that the universe has got your back. And that's the confidence within that trust, right? Yeah. So one of the things that we talk about, and I mean, we're going to bring up time at some point, and this is a beautiful thing, but time is like a huge topic. There's probably going to be multiple conversations about time. But thinking about it, you know, movies always talk about Back to the Future, you know, go back in time. But if you change the smallest little thing, you know, that could have huge repercussions on the future or the present where you were. But to Travis's point, which is something that's navigating the internet right now, or, you know, hanging out there, is when people talk about traveling to the past, they worry about changing the present by doing the smallest things. But nobody thinks in their present that they can change the future by doing something small. And something as small as trusting yourself could be huge. No, is huge for the future.
Yeah.
You trust yourself. And yeah, I mean, I think this is a quest of mine in my life. Something that has repeated. I've had to repeat the level. I'm in the school, and I'm trying to get things to go together, and it's like, no, trust doesn't go here. So I'm hoping that it on a human level, it makes sense sooner rather than later. But I'm really interested in this idea of moving from trust to knowing, because there's something, I've had moments of knowing, and it's like, it's beautiful. Yeah. Like the feeling of peace and ease that just comes over you when you just know is incredible. I just know that pizza is delicious, you know? So whatever it is, like you just know, and it like fills you. Like I feel something right here in my heart that just kind of just, it's lightning. It's vast. It's, you know, And it's amazing that if I can just have these moments when I don't feel this, when I don't have this knowing, like, especially in the past week, I've been wobbling about all sorts of things because I haven't trusted anything, you know, and that's probably why trust came up so strongly today as a topic, because I've been walking that, you know, this week. Trust myself. I'm staring at a post-it right now that my sister wrote, you know, trust in yourself, grasshopper. You know, and I'm staring at it right now, and I've been staring at it throughout the entire call. And it's like, if I could just do this and suddenly I have full trust, I think my entire life would change, like, instantly. My entire life, like, I know my entire life would change the second I decided to trust myself wholly and completely.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm going to bank that one.
Oh, well, when you're right, you're right. I'm not afraid to tell you you're right.
Yeah, I know, but it's a miracle.
Everything's a miracle.
Yeah.
All right. I think that we are very happy for everyone who is here. So thank you for the energy and the comments. Yes. And whether it's interesting or not, this is really our conversations off camera. And so it's kind of fun to be doing it on camera and have other people chime in and offer their perspectives. But I love that we were able to spend 56 minutes talking about something that we had no plan and no forethought at all. And we had trust in knowing that there would be something that was valuable.
That's so funny.
And no attachment to needing anything out of it other than we got to have a really fun conversation.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up just the funniest point, because, like, I even said to you before we hopped on the call, I said, you can even throw a topic at me and it would be good. Mm-hmm. Because of how much confidence I have doing these things.
Yeah.
You know, I trust myself in this, that you can pick any topic. And even if I don't have any sort of expertise in it, I'll be able to pull something out. You know, I'm going to be able to do it. Is it going to be the wisest thing anybody's heard? No. But
well, that's why you invite me.
Yes. Well, that's exactly why I invite you. Plus, could you imagine me doing a live, especially at the beginning on my own? Because the whole time I'd be like, squirrel, squirrel. And it would just be the entire time of me poking around, looking at all these other things. Yeah. And you're just like, refocus.
Well, I think it's fun. And so I appreciate your time. Apparently we're going to talk about time at some point. And yes. Yeah, I think this is a great space to call it a wrap and see what happens next. Who knows? No one knows.
No. And yeah, I just think it's so freaking funny that we're talking about trust and how I don't trust myself. Yeah. But I trusted myself here. So it's a lovely thing.
Perfect.
So pleasure, Sheila, as always. Looking forward to the next live. And thank you for those who have joined. Lots of love to each and every one of you. And trust in yourself. You got this. And if you don't, blame Sheila.
Well, you can, but you can also know that it's all working out. And you can trust yourself next time because you now know what you know.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all good. All right. Have a wonderful evening, everyone, and take care until next time. All right, bye.